What's good, lovely people? Welcome to another episode of Den Devine Sessions. This is recorded live from Den Devine, a music venue right here in Broadbeach, Gold Coast, Australia. I'm your host, Joseph Brown, a musician, a creator, and a passionate advocate for all things music. With years of experience on the stage and behind the scenes, I'm here to bring you stories from the heart of the music industry. Whether you're an upcoming musician, a seasoned pro, or dedicated music fan, this podcast is for you. Let's get into the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an awesome episode 1 of Den Devine Sessions, where we talk music right here at an awesome little venue in the Gold Coast, Broadbeach, Australia. We bring all these awesome musicians, all the music industry personnel, and we get to the raw, real talks. This is a live podcast, I think one of its kind, when it's at actual live venue. We're sitting here, we're having a great night. How's everyone going out there tonight? This is a live venue. Let's make some noise. What a beautiful night, what a beautiful moment that we get to have these just crazy conversations about the music industry. And I feel so blessed and so lucky to be here with Austin Mackay. How are you, my bro?
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Welcome. What's going on, man? What's going on?
In life?
In life.
In general?
Yeah.
Man, I'm just enjoying it at the moment. I've got a bit of time off, which is really nice. Am I close enough to this thing? You guys hear me? Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
Got a bit of time off at the moment, which is really nice. So it's like I'm just in my writing and recording phase of music at the moment, which kind of never really stops. But it's nice to like really hone into the creative process after, I've played quite a few gigs this year. So it's nice to just settle down. And I've been back at home with mum and dad, enjoying some family time, which I don't get to do too often, which is nice. So.
That's your foundation, right? Like,
for sure.
Yeah, man. And we were just saying before, having a little conversation. So you've been over in the States. Talk to me about all of this experience.
Yeah, I just got back from a it was like 6.5 week trip over to the States. It was half over there for writing and recording some music, which is going to be out in the next year, which I'm really excited about. But the other half kind of just to see the world. For me as a young musician, like I kind of finished high school and the COVID pandemic hit straight away. So I haven't really had the chance to see the world outside of me, just like grinding, touring throughout Australia.
For sure.
So it was really nice to get out of the country, and I was just solo traveling with like a backpack and my guitar and just staying in hostels and just enjoying myself and kind of like, living a bit of my youth.
Yeah. Where did you record? Where was the...
We recorded with a bunch of producers over in Nashville.
Yeah.
Nashville.
Awesome.
Yeah. And did a bunch of co-writes over there as well, which is really fun. So
we've had a few people come through who have done the Nashville. I mean, I feel like it's such a music ecosystem, and it's great to have some of that rubbing off here. We've had a few people, we've had Lily Grace come on, speak about Nashville. We've had a couple of other people, and it's really awesome, man. Talk me through Nashville. How was your experience?
Man, it's a machine over there. It's wild. It's just incredible to see so many people working so hard at the same thing all at once every single day, like around the clock. It's quite inspiring. As I said, I wrote some really good songs over there, but I've taken so much bringing it back to here and trying to spread that in our scene as well, because they do work so hard. And yeah, it's, getting to play the writers' rounds over there as well was really incredible. Getting to meet and mingle with the songwriters that are, I was playing songwriter rounds with people that have written like Luke Combs songs and things like that, and a guy that wrote a song on Post Malone's latest album. And it's like you get in a room with people that you're not even sure of their names, and by the end of it, you realize the things that they've sort of worked on, and it's crazy. And it's you can be sitting next to someone that's done extreme things, and it's just the place that is, man. It's surrounded by so many people that are like-minded, and I think that's the biggest thing. And the same here in Australia as well. But yeah, Nashville's just the hub for it.
Man, I'm sure as we get deeper and deeper into these topics, we'll talk about a lot of things. Now, where I like to start things off is, of course, I'd like to take things back to the beginning. But before I do, man, obviously, I like to give thanks and acknowledge the elders and local area that we are in. I mean, I know, we've got to give that respect to the elders and the traditional landowners of this land, because that's the thing. We come together to talk music, but we're guests, right? So I'd just like to give that acknowledgement out there. And before we go into the deeper topics again, I want to take it back to where it all began.
Sure.
I want to take it to where music conceptualized for you as a person. Doesn't have to be where you became a musician, just if you can remember back to when music impacted you. Do you ever take me there, man?
Yeah, sort of like there was never really a time in my life where music wasn't a thing. Growing up, I still remember a couple of CDs that played in my mum's Holden Commodore back in the day, and it was It was a Tracy Chapman album. It was a Pink album. There was Bruno Mars's Unorthodox Jukebox, an Ed Sheeran album, a Keith Urban album. I grew up on all this different stuff that I kind of just let sink in without knowing it, and just immerse myself in listening to so much music that my parents were listening to. You know, Shania Twain, Kenny Rogers, growing up on that sort of stuff as well. And yeah, a lot of my favorite songs now are actually songs from like my mum and dad's wedding soundtrack that are like.
What do you think about that Luke Combs, Tracy Chapman duo?
Man, it just shows how incredible of a song that is to be able to chart that well 2 times.
Yeah,
it's great. It's insane.
Yeah, man. Sorry, man. Keep going, man. Keep going.
I started playing guitar when I was 6 years old. I grew up on MTV and Rage back when that was like still a thing back in the day.
Rage is still going.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Wow. Okay, that shows how much I know.
They've forgotten, but they're still there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I used to watch the countdowns, and like I grew up listening to Cold Chisel and AC/DC, and like they're my favorite bands, and I just wanted to be like a guitar player. Like I looked up to Angus Young. I had like an SG replica, and just wanted to be a rock star. And I kind of I started playing gigs when I was about 13 years old. I realized that if I wanted to do music full time, that I kind of needed to do more than just play the guitar. And I wanted to sing, and I wanted to write songs, and I wanted to play shows, and I guess be my own artist. And yeah, so I kind of realized over time that there's more to music than just wanting to be a rock star. There's an actual love for it that's sort of deep rooted in me. Yeah. And I've had the ability over the past couple of years to sort of make a transition from doing the cover scene, which I did for between the time I was 13 and 19 years old. I played something like 300 cover gigs back home in Newcastle. You're
from Newey?
From Newcastle, cool. Yeah. So I was playing 3 to 4 a week, and mum and dad would come out to every single one because I wasn't allowed to play in venues before I was 18 without parental guidance. So it's always mum or dad just sitting there. They'd help me with my gear, and they still do. They still come to any gig that they can, which is incredible. But yeah, I guess over that time I just like learnt to hone my craft, and by the time I'd finished school, I pretty well built a van, packed everything into it, and moved up the coast to Byron Bay and started busking, and as you do. And I was kind of like a little bit untraceable during COVID. We don't tell the government that, but I was kind of like crossing borders, and when there was a pandemic here, I'd like go up to Airlie Beach and enjoy my freedom a little bit. But in that time I got to write songs and really hone in on the touring lifestyle. Yeah. And still to this day, I still like live in that van, and I'm still traveling the East Coast and playing shows. And yeah, that's really where I kind of got my start. I just would take any support show that I could get. I was busking on the weekends. I was playing any venue that would take me, and really just grinding.
And was music like always your primary objective as a person? Like, were you always, I'm going to be a muso, or did you have a backup plan? Or
I still to this day would not know I'm hopeless at everything else.
Yeah, it's the longest job I've held.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, it's true.
Yeah, man, and I love it. I love it so much. Like it is extremely tiring, and I'm sure we'll get into this later. Like it's a big job, and there's so much more to it than meets the eye. Yeah. But it's like you do it for the love of it, and you remind yourself why you do it every day. Like when I was that 6-year-old picking up a guitar, I just loved it.
Yeah, and you're predominantly just from what I've seen of your online presence, what would you call yourself as a musician? Like, what's the genre that you fit yourself? I mean, of course, country, but is that?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I grew up listening to a lot of country music, but kind of as growing up in a coastal town, it's like the in thing was like indie rock and surf rock, and of course, like being young and influenced by all that stuff, and my friends around me, I wanted to sort of make the music that my friends were into because it was like cool.
Yeah.
And so I started making like indie rock sort of music, and come up in the indie folk scene, I guess, with artists like the Dregs and Jack Botts and Felipe Baldomir, and people that are still my mates today. But getting outside of that, I sort of realized sonically that I started to write more and more country influenced songs, just unintentionally, just because I enjoyed the way that it sounded, and I'm making music at the moment that is more country influenced, and I'm the happiest I've ever been writing songs. I'm making the music that I really do love listening to, and music that I'm proud of as well is the biggest thing.
Country's such a great genre. I love country.
I love it.
It's storytelling. It's everything that makes what I love about music, which is connection, human connection.
For sure.
And I think country just nails that. Some, you're just in your body, but country, I feel you're in your heart and you're in your soul when you listen to country. But yeah, man, I love that. So talk me through when you started to, want to break out of that cover scene, started to wanting to move towards, okay, I'm more than a cover artist. I've got these original music. Talk to me about that moment, that situation. Like, probably wasn't one, probably was a whole series of them, but talk me through that.
For sure, man. I think, I had always played my own original music, and I'd go to any open mic night that I could back home as well, and sort of in between playing the cover gigs, go and play my original songs, and that's where I really found my true passion for it. Like, after playing 300 gigs between that time and playing Daryl Braithwaite covers in the corner of a pub to two drunk people, it's like
I still do that, man.
Yeah, but I found that I wanted to. There was more of a fire for me when I was playing my original stuff, and I'd still, I'd sneak in like one or two original songs at the start, and I got to a point where I was just playing a whole set of my original songs at the end of gigs.
Nice.
And
there's some tips out there for
anyone. And there
anyone?
was something for me to look
Sneak
forward
them
to.
in.
Yeah, sneak them in,
Sneak
and
them
then
in.
eventually you can have a whole set of originals.
Look,
once
you
write
just
enough.
sing your song and say, this is the new Justin Bieber song. And
Exactly.
then no one's going to know.
No one will know.
Who's
No
going to
one.
keep up with Justin Bieber?
But yeah, man. So I guess breaking out of that for me was, when I moved away from home just after the COVID pandemic sort of hit, we had that first kind of lockdown break between New South Wales and Queensland, and I just hit the road and never looked back. And for me, that was, that was a turning point for sure, was just getting to be on the road and realizing how good of a lifestyle it was and how much I enjoyed touring, although it is, hard work. I just enjoyed traveling and seeing the world, and having a job that allows you to do that is incredible.
How awesome is it?
So
Yeah, for sure. And what was some of the moments when you were trying to break out? Like, let's talk, I don't want to talk all about finance, but I know financial stuff, that we're humans. We want to live. And if you can do music and live, that's great. So did you find it a difficult thing to transition from covers to originals and still get paid?
For sure.
Did you have to do more busking? Like, what's sort of the formats you had to work on?
Yeah, you 110% have to take a hit. Like, if you're, I was playing a lot of weddings and stuff as well.
Yeah.
And weddings and cover gigs, like, you can make a comfortable living off doing that. But for me, that just didn't light my fire. And I guess you have to take a massive hit going and doing the original stuff and obviously appreciating it a lot more. But yeah, there's not much money in it at the start, if any.
Yeah.
Like, you come and play open mic nights and you just hope that there's someone in the crowd that can help you out or might give you a gig or a support show. And I think the biggest thing is you got to keep true to yourself. And I guess deep down, like, I always knew that, like, I could do it. It just took a lot of work.
Yeah.
So it's just reminding yourself, why you started and why you love it, I guess.
Yeah. I know the work involved. It's massive, and
it doesn't stop.
Nah.
There's no off switch.
No, well, here we are. This is work.
Here we are.
Let's be
feel
honest.
like work.
We're all at work here right now tonight. Talking about the music industry, getting into these topics, and I love music. I love the music scene. I love being a musician. The thing I don't love is that business seems to be the primary objective. I think business should be the byproduct of music, and music should be the primary. Mm-hmm. But I feel, just my humble opinion, that the business comes first and then the music comes second. And I'm like, that's where I just want to have that conversation around different people's experience, for us to gain deeper insight into the music industry and how we can improve it for people who just have a dream to be a musician but don't want to sell their soul along the way.
Yeah.
They want to maintain who they are,
For sure, man. And it's kind of a double-ended sword in a little bit of a way that, you do have to take that hit and not make money. And I guess with just the way that the world is right now, I know we're not getting into all of that side of things, but yeah, it is a tough time to be a musician, especially an up and coming musician that might not sell a lot of tickets, because overall, like, across Australia at least, I know ticket sales are at an all-time low, and there's rising costs for living expenses and things like that, but it does make it hard for people that are chasing a dream and people that are waking up every single day and doing something that they want to do and might not feel like it's paying off, because it is a tough time right now.
It is. And from your perspective, where you are at the moment, like, you've just come back from Nashville, potentially the capital of the music city in the world, and you've come back to Australia. Like, talk to me about Nashville as an industry. Like, it's struggling there, but is it still booming?
For sure. Oh, man, it's booming. I don't know the ins and outs of that place enough to really answer that question, like, financially, but I think, just seeing it from from the perspective of an artist that is going there for the first time and writing songs, like people are so passionate there. And that's the thing that's never lost on people. You know, the money can be there, the money might not be there, but if people are passionate, it's one thing you can't take away from them. So that's the one thing I did notice being over there is there's a real drive in every single person you talk to. And even the people that, you know, I've got mates that have moved over there from Australia, and it is tough because it's expensive to move over there. The visa costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the cost of living over there is incredibly high as well. But, you know, they're over there for a reason. They're over there because they want to push themselves to the limits and be in the pool with the best that they can be and compete. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, you know, music isn't necessarily a competition, but you have so many people that are doing the same thing that you need something yourself that is going to make you stand out.
For sure.
And some people are still finding that. Some people know what that is, and they've just got to make other people believe it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I understand that. For sure. And it's good, like, that we can talk about this. I'm all good, man. I'm fine for us to go wherever we need to go to get to the deep depths of the conversation that we need to go. We need to go into those areas because it's in those nooks and crannies where solutions might jump out. So, of course, the industry at the moment is struggling. There's a big emphasis on stadium gigs are going, you know, they're going good. But down here, that's where it's not going good. My opinion, and that's just purely my opinion, is there's so much money that goes into these big stadium gigs that it's taking so much finance from people to come and support the small to medium-sized venues, because that's where the struggle is, right? Like, up the top, you know, people can correct me anyway, or they can go into the details of it, but I feel up the top it's fine. I feel it's down here, it's the local venues, it's the small to medium-sized venues, and that's where we can jump into those things. You know? So
yeah, I mean, the festival scene is a really interesting one as well. You know, in the last 2 years alone, we've lost some of our biggest music festivals, and we don't know if they're going to come back. And it's quite sad to see, because the energy that they bring when you're in a music festival crowd, for me especially, like a concert crowd as well, and you're standing there and you're forced to enjoy something for 60, 90 minutes without a skip button, without a shuffle button, and you're forced to be there and be taken on a journey, whatever journey the artist might be taking you on. And, you know, I talk to so many people after shows that are like, I haven't been to a show in so long and I forgot how much I loved it, and it makes me want to go to more. Or for some people that it's their first show. And I forget what it's like. I've played a fair few gigs now. I forget what it's like to see a show for the first time.
Yeah.
But it was a Cold Chisel concert. I remember how in awe I was, you know, sitting at the back of an entertainment center being, I think I was 11 years old at the time, and just being like, oh my God, this is like, I was gobsmacked.
Yeah.
But to be able to do that for people, I think is one of the most important things as a musician. But I guess, we've got to get back to realizing that, you know, to get to that point, we need to support the smaller venues and the smaller artists that are coming up, because you can't get there without being here.
All big stars started from small venues or busking.
Exactly.
The Beatles, I'm pretty sure John Lennon started from busking. I'm pretty sure Elvis Presley started from busking. Ed Sheeran for sure started from busking.
For sure.
Then went into that venue, small venue, to build. This is where you craft your craft. Like, this is where it happens. And this is where we need to put some attention. So I'm really keen to start. Okay, we know Austin a little bit. We've started to get to know your ins and outs a little bit as a person and what you love about music. Let's talk about your experience in the industry. Now we're starting to try and get some gigs. We're starting to see that sort of area. Your eyes are opening up to that part of the world. Talk me through what you've felt now being in the industry over the last sort of 5 years.
Yeah, I guess realizing more and more each day that there is as I said, there's so much more to it than meets the eye. You know, it's not there's no off switch. You just it keeps moving. And there's so many things that need to happen to keep the project going and to push the project to the next level. And I think as artists, sometimes it can get you down a little bit, the mindset that like you're always pushing for the next thing. It's very kind. You're always pushing for the next thing. And obviously you want more and more success for yourself in your own project, but sometimes that can be like a little mentally taxing. And for me, I think the biggest thing is just realizing how to ride the wave of you know, balancing my success and my peaks and my falls, and with my mental health as well. And realizing that, like, trying to compartmentalize that a little bit, because it is tough. It's really tough as an artist to not get down on yourselves when you might be seeing other artists doing well and trying not to compare yourselves to them. And unfortunately artists do, because it's, we're all our own biggest critics at the end of the day. And we all want to do well. It's, why we started doing it in the first place. And we believe in ourselves. And that's the biggest thing, is like trying to not let the industry get you down, because you're going to get so many no's, so many kicks, so many knocks, and you just got to keep going.
Yeah, for sure. I know when you start putting your first few gigs on, I've done that myself. I've put a few gigs on, and that first gig, 3 people show up and you go, where's all my mates? You can't take it personal, because at the end of the day, it's only so many gigs your mates can come to.
For sure.
And you've got to outgrow that concept that it's going to happen in one day, right? Like you're a few years into it.
Yeah, man. Like it's the highs and the lows. Like I've played festivals to 5,000-10,000 people, and I've played cover gigs to my mum and 1 bar staff. It's the highs and lows.
That's all on the same week, I bet.
Yeah, literally.
Friday and then Saturday, 1 bar
Yeah,
staff.
and you got the Saturday blues in the corner of a pub. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. That's the funny part about music. It's so changing and shifting and
But if
moving.
you can keep yourself level-headed within that all, that's the key.
Yeah.
That is the key, man.
That's a good piece of advice.
Yeah.
Keep yourself level-headed, control your boat.
And try and find things outside of music that interest you as well. For me, traveling, like I spent so much time, because we don't switch off, like felt guilty if I wasn't like writing a song or doing something musical on a certain day if I wasn't playing a gig. For me, it's like if I'm touring and if I'm busy and I've got a schedule, I'm fine. It's when I don't have things on that I start to overthink, and I'm like, oh, I got to do something today to keep this, keep pushing on.
Yeah.
But being able to find other things that help balance that as well. For me, I love surfing, and I love, sports, basketball and football and things like that. And, even just getting to spend time with my mates and my mum, my dad and my sister back home is like the biggest thing. Just getting to switch off and just be a normal person as well is the biggest.
Man, tell me how many was there? Did you have one break? Because understanding that you've played in front of 10,000 people, how many breaks did it take for you to get to that? How many letdowns did you go through? How many? Oh, I've got this opportunity, and then it didn't do anything.
Oh man,
this other
still
opportunity didn't do anything.
Still getting I'm lucky enough to have a good team around me now, but still I know for a fact that my team pitches me for so many supports and so many gigs, and it's just still no's, and that's completely fine, And me as an artist, I don't find out about that stuff because obviously they don't want to get me down, but yeah, we still get so many no's for sure. And coming through, it was like no all the time, and it was heavily outweighed for the yes, and then you get that one yes, and it's like, oh, that's what I want.
The one.
That's that little bit of juice, and then you keep going, and you just crave that all the time. Yeah.
And what was your first big yes?
Man, I think my first big yes was probably when my friends, the Dregs, asked me to support them up in Queensland. They were doing some good numbers during the COVID pandemic, and they discovered me on TikTok. I was just posting covers, and they messaged me and they're like, do you want to come up and play a couple of shows for us? And I'd played literally one original show before, and I drove my van 11 hours straight up to their house. Up
11 hours straight. Anyone watching? 11 hours straight. You want that opportunity?
Yeah.
Go out and get it.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid.
Newcastle to Sunny Coast. You don't stop. You don't
what,
stop.
1 hour? I'm not driving 1 hour. 11 hours straight, ladies and gentlemen. Right? I mean,
that's real. This gig. And yeah, we played 2 shows, and it was so much fun. And since then, that was kind of like, a bit of a turning point for me. I realized how much I enjoyed playing my music to people that actually wanted to listen. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. That's the turning point. It's like when there's people in the crowd that, now for me, it's when people sing my songs back to me and realizing that my biggest yes is the fact that my songs have had their own impact on people in their own lives without me knowing them at all.
Yeah.
And they come to shows and I've created that the songs have been there in moments in their own life is what I'm trying to say. And that's magical for me. But I think the first, big yes was getting to play those shows and playing to people that were pin drop silent, which is incredible. Like this, except they didn't have blue headphones on. I feel like I'm in a silent disco.
They will soon.
Yes.
Yeah, it's happening.
It's happening. It's happening.
We get to recreate those moments, or create a new moment.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Wow. Well, I can only imagine. I haven't had that yet, but I could imagine how awesome that would be, and how just, I guess, humbling. Humbling that people are there for you to listen to you, to hear your story. Do you tell stories with your songs? Are you like really owning that country? I know you got the country roots on.
Like my band get over me because I talk too much. They're just sitting there doing nothing while I'm just yapping.
What do you yap about?
Just life stories about my songs, the backstory, what I've been up to, what I got up to on last weekend with my mates.
Nice.
Sometimes stuff I probably shouldn't be telling the crowd, but
that comes after a couple more beer skis.
Absolutely. But yeah, for sure. I try to tell the backstory because when I go and watch a show, you know, sometimes it's cool to let people figure the song out for themselves and you know, relate it to whatever it is that they're going through. But I love knowing a backstory behind a song. The amount of times that I've even online listened to a song on Spotify and then a YouTube interview might pop up from the same artist and they talk about what the song's about, and you go and listen to the same lyrics, just with different substance and different idea about what they're about. It changes it.
Do you ever do the thing where you're trying to listen to a song and it's like, that didn't make me cry enough, I need to go back, it didn't hit me as hard as it did last time? Do you do that thing?
Yeah, I feel like you never get those moments twice, but it's never the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
sure. And as you've stepped through the industry now, you've done your festivals. What was that festival? What's the festivals?
I mean, we've done a bunch. We did Springtime Festival just here on the Gold Coast. That was a key one. That was real fun.
Awesome.
That was a couple of years ago now. We've done Byron Bay Blues Fest. We've done Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers. We're about to do Howland Country in Newcastle, which is a massive country lineup, which I'm so excited for. But yeah, they've sold a crap ton of tickets, which is really cool. Yeah, it's going to be fun. In my hometown as well.
Really?
Yep.
So who's on the lineup for that one?
Tyler Childers, Brad Cox, Sons of the East, myself, Taylor Moss.
Wow.
And there's a few others yet to be announced.
This is epic.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Man. And that's, you're starting to get into that the ball's starting to roll a little bit more.
Things are starting to get serious. It's a bit scary.
Oh, man. Well, that's what this is. This whole conversation is about from the musician's perspective. Like, as we develop it, we want to talk with people on different areas, like venue owners and promoters and festival organizers. We got to find that singular point of contact where we can go, that's what we agree on. Let's focus on that for a bit.
For sure.
Because I feel like that conversation's out there and it's just like juggling everywhere. So it's great to hear from the musician's perspective. And talk to me about your team. So were you independent for long and then you found a team, or did the team
so it was
find you?
It was a very natural progression. I've been independent and I'm still very hands-on. You know, I'm probably too hands-on.
Yeah.
But
you should be. We had Tiki Tani here, one of our pre-recorded, and he's been in the industry for over 30 years. And we brought him over here, put him on at Soul Bar and a few other places, and he still handles everything himself. And I'm like, he's played Big Day Out, man. He's played like,
for sure.
He toured with, like, done so much crazy stuff. But I have to be there. I have to talk. He has like gatekeepers, but after those gatekeepers, you talking with Tiki
for sure,
all the way up.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing. I think always you're the driver. Always have that hand on the wheel. I think that's what I'm starting to learn, was when people take their hand off the wheel, you start getting, I think, put in places that you might not. It's your story, you know.
For sure. And I think, my dad always said to me when he'd ask me to do a chore and I wouldn't do it right, he's like, if you want a job done right, you do it yourself. And I've taken that with me.
Shout out
for
to your
sure.
dad.
And it's like, shout out to Dad. He's probably watching back home. Him and Mum are probably perched up in the lounge right now watching this.
Hey, Mum and Dad. Shout out to Raising This Awesome, man. We've had some good conversations already, and you're pretty solid, man. So shout out to your mum and dad.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
right back at you.
Talk to me, man. Let's do this.
I forgot what the question was.
It was something. I'm sure it was something.
Does anyone remember what the question was?
Who remembers the question? No one.
No, let's move on.
No, it was your dad telling you.
Yeah, before that. I'm lost. I lost my train of thought, bro.
No, yeah. That's okay. We'll jump on a new train.
Oh, the team.
The team.
Yes, it was a natural progression, man. I was independent for a long time and I'm still very hands-on. But my team, I met Brad Hines, who's my manager here on the Gold Coast. Actually, I played a gig at Miami Marquetta. I played on the food stage there, which I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with here. That venue's incredible. But Brad gave me a gig on the front stage, and it was just me and an acoustic guitar and a stomp box, and I played to maybe like 10 people. And he come up to me after the gig and he's like, hey mate, I'm Brad. He's like, I really enjoyed that. He's like, we want to put you on a show inside was like, let's talk about it in the next couple of months. And I was like, man, this is my first Gold Coast gig. I don't know anyone here. I'm not going to sell tickets. And he's just said, that's not what it's about for me, man. He's like, I know, talent when I see it. And he's like, I believe in you and I want to help you out. And, we can help promote it and do that thing. And we ended up selling 120 tickets on the Gold Coast, which was so
shout out.
Whack. Yeah. And yeah, I think for me, he's always been, a big believer as well as my parents. But, he introduced me to my agent who works down in Melbourne now. And he's kind of always just been a little bit of a mediator between me and my agent and me and the industry, and just like giving me advice, because he's been doing the thing for a long time now.
He knows
he knows what's going on. And yeah, when I finally, kind of asked him a couple of years ago if he wanted to, take on board a little bit more work and manage me a bit more officially, he was keen to do it. And we've got such a good relationship between him, myself, and Adam, my agent down in Melbourne. But yeah, it was just a very natural thing, and being able to have people that can, help do a bit of the heavy lifting and a bit of the admin side of things that I, personally find take up a lot of my brain power.
Yeah.
And being a creative and trying to do that stuff at the same time, and it's quite hard. I feel like at the same time, you've really got to learn to compartmentalize it.
Yeah.
But jumping between, I was booking my own tours. I booked about 3 of my own tours. And I was jumping between like trying to write, and then, an email would pop up from a venue and I'd be like, oh, reply to this email, try and get this slot at this venue, and try and get back to writing. It just doesn't work. So you need people to help do that sort of stuff as well. Once it gets to a certain point where the workload is too much, because one person can only do so much.
Yeah.
But for me, the biggest thing is learning to let go, because I am a little bit of a control freak, and it is my career. So that's fair enough. But yeah, learning to trust and let other people take some of the load is the biggest thing.
Yes. Just that whole, what's the word called? It's just, let it spread out across a few people.
For sure. Yeah. But it's got to be the right people as well. It's got to be people that you trust, because they're the ones representing you.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing. And I've been super, super lucky. I know, we chatted briefly before about your experience with managers and some people that I haven't yet had a bad experience. We've had bad experiences with people that we've tried to book shows through, but on my team, they've been perfect.
And did you do due diligence to know that, or was it through experience, or did you just give it a go, or did you know who Brad was before you jumped into that conversation, into that partnership? Into
management? Yeah. Well, man, I'd known him for about 2 or 3 years. And he'd just been around the scene, and he was always a big supporter. Mark had to treat their artists incredibly.
Yeah.
And he's always just a music lover. Before he was even work with me, he was putting me forward for supports and festival slots that he was organising, and just believed in what I did. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just wanting someone that's as passionate as I am about my project, because they have to be. Especially I'm still at a point where there's not heaps of money in it.
Yeah.
And for my team especially, that are only taking a certain cut. So, they're doing it for the love of it at the moment. And that means so much to me. It really does.
Yeah, yeah. It's a long-term gain, but look, you're already getting that traction. You've been over to Nashville. Was that organised through your team, or was it just you going, I want to go to Nashville?
I've just been wanting to go for years, and I was meant to go last year, but my car broke down, and it's a European car, and I had to put a new turbo in it, which set me back about $8,000, and that was like half of my Nashville money. So yeah, I went back to work and back to the drawing board. It's a Renault Master van. It's like this massive van that I've been living in for the past couple of years, which is also my home. So if it's if that stops, my music career stops. But yeah, so I just finally built up the money again, and I just booked my flights and just didn't think about it. And I was like, I'm just going.
And did you do a lot of planning before you went over there, or you knew some connections?
Some. I kind of wish I did a little bit more, but I really like going into things without a plan sometimes, and just letting whatever happens. I organised a bunch of writing sessions and the recording sessions, but I met so many people just through playing writers rounds and through these sessions that people knew, friends that might be in the same wheelhouse that wanted to work with me, and even just having beers with people and socializing, and I found that trip was a real me working towards building the foundations for next time and the continuous trips that I'm going to be taking over there in the future. It was really just me digging my heels in this time and going, hey, this is me. I'm just a skinny white surfer kid from Australia that makes country music, and you can choose to love it if you want to.
Yeah. They love it. I mean, obviously, it's still going. And we're talking about your creative process. So, like when you're writing songs, are you one of those people that is melody first? Is it words first? Is it chords first? What comes first?
Man, it really depends. I used to always be chords, but I've had so many times recently where I've just been driving in the car and I've just like a melody will just come to me and I'm just like humming something. Just even doing like vocal warm-ups sometimes in the car or like scales, and I'll just like do one wrong note. I'm like, oh, that's actually a really cool melody. And I'll just like voice memo it.
Nice.
But yeah, they come out of, anywhere. I'll sit down and just play the guitar and just be jamming and, just play over like a lead line or something and be like, oh, that could be cool for a verse or a chorus. And, it starts to piece itself together.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes you're just kind of sitting there and it's just like floating by and you just like catch it out of the air. It's just the way that it happens. That's creativity, I guess.
That is creativity. And when you're writing, does the song come? I know for me, when I write, I'm living that song. So some songs I've got half written because I haven't concluded that experience yet. Mm-hmm. That's my experience when I write. What about for you? Like, do songs fall out in your hand, or is it some songs taking a while? Or
man, I've got songs that I've been working on for 6 years that might never see the light of day, and it's like I just can't finish them. I've got songs that I've finished in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
you can't pick them. And some songs you'll be so stoked on, and you'll be like, get to the end of the first chorus, and you're like, okay, all I've got to do is write the tail end of this song, and it just doesn't happen. And I've had a song recently that I just actually wrote the other day that is two completely different songs and a chord progression just like put together.
And
it molds, and that's the piece that you need. And if you actually went looking for that, it was never going to happen.
Yeah.
But it just comes at random times, man. You can't explain it.
Oh,
yeah. It's the closest thing to magic.
I reckon. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm like Harry Potter, bro.
You're Harry Potter. Nice. Yeah, and do you write to impact people? If that makes sense. So I know some people write like, I want to write a pop song that gets as much hits. They write for that theory. When you write as a country artist, are you like, I want to hit someone's soul. I want to make someone cry and feel the story and break down and let all their emotions out? Is that your...
For sure, man. I think I do write a lot from personal experience, and if I'm feeling a song or show my friends a song, or my mum or my dad a song that, seeing their reaction is kind of the thing I check it to. And I'm like, okay, this can go out to the world. Or, sometimes even road test songs with crowds that are very new and that probably shouldn't be played because they're that fresh and I forget verses and stuff all the time. But like just to see how they go, and I'll just drop one or two in here.
Yeah.
I think, man, I've always wanted to impact people, and I try. I think I'm a very honest songwriter, and I'm learning to appreciate that side of my songwriting a lot more. As I said, I've gone through the genres, and I've bounced between things that I didn't really feel like I resonated with, and I sort of landed on country and folk music and the storytelling aspect of that because of the idea that it does impact people, and it's real stories for people that need them, man, and people that are living that life.
Yeah, and when you go back to some of those, like when you sing those Tracy Chapman songs, I sing Fast Car still.
Me too.
And it just brings a tear every time because you're in that person's shoe. You're in that, like, my old man had a problem, live with the bottle, that's the way it is.
It's so funny. Every time I sing that song at gigs and Dad's there, he raises his beer.
Yeah. Nice. But like they hit you. Yeah. And I feel that's something that may have over time changed in the music industry is that part of the creation where you're like writing from your soul. That's lost its appreciation because now it's like we're in this like impact era where it's just crazy stuff like this and crazy ass music out there that's just like, what is this? Like,
yeah, man. It's some of the music nowadays has become quite down the line, and it needs to be a certain way for for TikTok or, you know, quick bites and things like that. And for me, like, I try to keep myself away from that, and I try to just write the music that makes me happy, because, you know, I feel like if it hits well with me as not necessarily a writer but a music fan, then I feel like I can trust my own, you know, intuition enough for it to go out into the world.
Yeah, and you want to look in the mirror at the end of it all and still love yourself, right? You don't want to be, wow, I'm famous, but who am I?
For sure.
What songs am I singing? What songs do I have to now sing to remain famous? Mm-hmm. Now you've sold a little bit of your ethics and moralities as a musician to gain something, but now you don't even want that thing you've got.
And it's something that might not even fulfill you in the end, to be honest. Like, you know, for me, every single gig that I play, every single thing that I do within music, every song that I write, every person that I get to meet and talk to, it just continues to remind me of why I do it. Yeah. Because I love it, and I love the songs that I write, and to see the fact that other people do as well is just a bonus.
Can you give me a little, just doesn't have to be anything big, just like a couple lines of one of your favorite lines from your songs? Doesn't have to be from all of them, but...
Oh, man, you put me on the spot.
I know. Like,
I swear I've written songs. Gosh.
I know, and you don't have a guitar, so the muscle memory is probably not talking to each other.
Yeah. I've got a whole verse in one of my songs off my latest album, which is a song just about being on the road a lot, and not getting to be at home. And it was, while I've been chasing my tail, driving coast to coast, I lost sight of the things that I missed the most. Waking up at dawn to a rising sun, slow dancing in the kitchen with the woman I love, going drinking with the boys on a Saturday night, and hearing my sister try to tell me that she's always right. Mm. Yeah. And that's probably one of my favorite verses that I've ever written. And I felt like that was really kind of just what I was feeling at the time. And for me, I kind of wrote that and I was like, you know what, that's probably going to get changed later. And it just never got changed. No. I was like, it's real. It's real. It's real.
That's how it came. Don't change it. Leave it as it is. Mm-hmm. Throw it into the song. Are you a producer as well? Did you find the studio? Do you look for studios?
No, mentally, I'm a producer. I know what ideas, but I can't engineer it. I can't, I'm not very like tech savvy like that. So I kind of write the songs and I'll co-produce all the stuff that I do with an engineer. But yeah, I can do demos and stuff like that. But yeah, it's nothing fancy.
Yeah.
Sure. But I really want to get into that side of it because I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
And being able to record from home and do your own music is a lot cheaper.
Yeah. These days, it's crazy as. And talk to me through COVID. Let's talk about the big C.
We're allowed to talk about that.
We're going to talk about it. I think that's what it's about, man. Let's do it.
Man, COVID was weird. I still don't really know the original music scene any different than before the COVID pandemic. Like the first year I finished high school was in 2019, and yeah, COVID pandemic hit 3 months after I graduated school. I just finished schoolies and had the Christmas break, and then got back, and it was like, here you go, you can't go anywhere for a year. Mm. And I was like, that was cool, because I kind of lost like all of my work, as did everyone. Yeah. And I was lucky enough at the time that I was getting the JobKeeper payments, because I did have my own ABN and I was running my own business. And for a couple of months, I just sat in my room and wrote songs that become my first collection of music as well, and recorded those in like the tail end of 2020. But yeah, man, it was hard. It was weird. No one knew what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
And I think people are still navigating the world as we know it now, because it's it can change tomorrow. And I think at the same time, we were already changing without the pandemic. There's the likes of social media coming in and seeing the industries change, especially the music industry as we've seen it. Like I think people just didn't know what to do with themselves. It was a lot to take in.
COVID was massive.
It was, and it still is. We still are feeling the impacts of that.
I think if people are ignorant to that can be part of the problem, is thinking it's all done. There's obviously aftermath. There's obviously picking up the pieces. There's obviously, like if a hurricane comes through, just because the hurricane's gone doesn't mean the damage is just instantly fixed, right? Like
sometimes it feels better to be completely in denial. It's a little bit more stress-free.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you got to think about it, man. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. But did you write a lot of music through COVID?
So much.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't playing gigs, so I was like, cool. I can just kind of use this time to write songs, and that was all well and good for the first 4-5 weeks where I was just like in my room, but I was kind of, you know, getting a little bit stir crazy and had cabin fever.
Man, COVID was so intense. My middle child, I have a middle child, I have 3 kids.
3 kids?
Yeah,
Wow.
man, 3 kids. And my middle child was born a week before COVID. And I'm a full-time musician. So I'm like, I remember just having this little baby, like literally newborn, and getting those emails. We got to cancel, we got to cancel, we got to cancel, we got to cancel. And it just kept happening. And I went, how are we going to pay these bills? How are we going to put food on the table? Like, this went all through my head. And a mate called me up who had a removals truck, and he goes, oh, I've got some extra jobs for you. I'm like, cool. So he helped me out. And then another crew, Grandad Jacks, who I'd give a lot of thanks for. I don't know if they made it here today, but I was their resident for a long time. And I got to give this shout out because they called me up and said, we're going to keep paying you for the next couple months till you work yourself out. So big shout out to Grandad Jacks.
Man, that's incredible.
to doing that, because that crew just kept me alive and kept me going. And then I bought a food trailer. Oh, yeah, so
Okay.
heaps of stuff going on.
Go King.
Put it at Mo's Desert Clubhouse. Shout out to Mo's crew. And done all the food at Mo's.
Oh, yeah.
And then got back into music. So I'm like, man, I'm not a chef. Look, I love cooking, but I didn't like the business aspect of it. I'm like waking up early. I was making arancini balls, man, at like 4 a.m. I'm like, what am I doing with my life?
Did you make the arancini balls that are here tonight?
No, I wish. No, I don't wish. I'm glad I didn't. What am I talking about? I'm glad I didn't make those. But yeah, we used to do everything fresh. But yeah, it's good to be back in music. And I think that's a big passion drive for me and what I want to bring to this conversation. I've been in the music industry for about 10 years. By choice, I've taken a lot of opportunities that I have not taken opportunities because I have kids. I don't want to travel the world without my kids. I have these restrictions that I'm like, I can't step on my kids.
How do you navigate that?
Oh, you'll have to find that on the next episode. When we're talking about me, we're here to talk about you, my friend. No, look,
get away with that.
Chev's got kids as well, and we've had a good conversation about that as well. And I think a lot of musos out there have kids. And look, you bring them on the road, you negotiate, right? You got them on the boat, didn't you? You did? Nice. You got on the main stage? I saw that. Who was with you? Yeah. This is in the next episode.
What a way to promote.
Yeah. It's going where it's going, guys. But yeah, look, there's ways you do it. And I don't think I have the answer, to be honest. I think that's what this is all about, is finding an answer for people and finding what the questions need to be asked to make the industry a better place, that it's not just about hype, but about music and about what matters most. And that some of us,
Man, that's unfortunately just the effect that social media has had now. Is we do compare ourselves to people, whether we want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
And it's because we're all just here all the time. And unfortunately, it's what I was saying before about the importance of being able to go to a show and just watch something that is just there, and you're forced to be standing there through that whole thing unless you leave. But yeah, unfortunately, that's just the world that we're living in at the moment.
that is, but I think as we dive deeper into this, like, we can educate people on music is a calling. It's for a lot of us. For me, I can't shake it. If I stopped doing music, like through the COVID period, I was questioning my whole self. I was going, what am I? Without music. And it sounds really, for people that are not musicians, it sounds really shallow and like, oh yeah. But when you're a musician, that's what your calling is. Like a doctor, their calling is to be a doctor. That's what they come to earth to do. And there's now platforms to make being a doctor, which of course it's important, but there's strategies and foundations to make these things important in people's life. A builder, my wife's from Turkey, and in Turkey, a builder is the lowest form of human.
Okay.
But in Australia, it ain't. Builders are like pretty high up there. They're the ones with the mansions, and they're the ones living good lives here in Australia. But in Turkey, it's not like that. And that tells me it's the same thing, but it's how it's educated in the community. And that's what I feel like where this conversation, we're not going to solve the world's problems in this conversation. We're just talking about the music industry and teaching people music is more than a hobby. Music is my calling. And eventually, maybe one day, we'll have platforms that can actually create that pathway. Right now, music in schools is just a background thing. You go, oh, I went to music school. But, you know, they should teach people how to transition from music to being a hobby, to being a career. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about that conversation, you know? So,
yeah, because it needs to happen, man. There's so, as I was saying to you before, like coming up as a young musician, I didn't have things like this.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't go anywhere and, you know, watch artists that have sort of, you know, worked over the past couple of years to get to where they are, like talk about their experiences, because it comes down to like, you know, we're probably the best people to check it to, the people that are actually doing it.
We're right in it. You know?
And it rarely is the people that are actually talking about it, you know, and I love listening to interviews because I gain so much insight from other artists at, you know, at different levels in their career and at different stages. But yeah, I just, you know, you can take a lot from people that are just knuckling down and doing their own thing. And sort of what I was getting at before is we're forced ourselves to compare to other people from social media, but unfortunately there is no blueprint to this thing. There is no way that like this might work for some other person. It's not necessarily going to work for you. And yeah, it's tough, but it's reality, really.
It's the reality. And you have to have always one foot in reality. You have to be grounded. And I think what I've learned as a musician in this industry is you can't be naive. You have to be in reality and realize that the music industry is an industry and it is a business, and you have to respect the business.
And you just got to be a nice person.
You have to be humble.
Man, there's so many assholes in this industry. Just be nice.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
That was... It's true, you know, it's true. As we get into this next section, it's all about your experience, and it's all about what you can provide from your experience. And I'm not here to talk about what we're doing as a company and as an app, but we are trying to. Our mission is to develop an app that's really positively powerful for the music industry. That's going to take some time. We're developing some of the first phases right now. We're about to release it soon, hopefully. But up until that moment, we just want to talk about people's experiences. In the beginning right now, where we are is talking about musicians. And what we like to talk about is what I believe is there's a holy trinity of the music industry. That holy trinity is venues, it's musicians, and it's punters. And the business side of it is the ones that know how to control those three. What I believe, my personal opinion, is that we need to understand how we can improve in those areas. I think the power's in those three trinity people, that trinity. It's in the musicians, it's in the venues, it's in the punters for us to show up. Because I believe Nashville and these places that you see that improve the industry, that's passion between those three that show up. They're not showing up for money and that sort of stuff. They're showing up because I want to support this musician. I want to support this venue. And I like to get into that conversation about those three. By all means, it's not to be controversial. It's just your experience, because I've had my experience. And I always like to start off with venues. So when you show up at a venue, and you've played heaps of venues, right? You've played them all.
Yeah.
I've played a lot of different venues. Some venues really look after you. Some venues just, they have your back. Some don't. I want to ask you, what do you think venues could do better to help the music industry grow, to flourish, and to look after musicians so you can bring your best?
Oh, that's a hard question, because my manager runs a venue.
It's just, look, again, you don't have to get controversial. It's okay. Like, I understand.
Man, I think, you know, the biggest thing as an artist that is sort of flying and driving to different towns and touring, and you might be in, you know, 3 different spots in a weekend, you know, the biggest thing that we notice from venues is when staff are just friendly. When we like walk into the door and there's people with a smile on their face, it makes you feel good, because we might be tired. I've just jumped off a plane, right, and got into this venue, and, you know, I don't want to be working with a sound guy that's just grumpy.
You went straight to the soundy.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah,
There's a lot of grumpy soundies out there.
There's a lot of grumpy soundies out there. But like even the bar staff sometimes, you know, if they've got a smile in their face, if they're feeling good, it makes you feel good. And, you know, it brings a vibe to a venue as well. And you know, there, as you said, there are so many artists, so many venues that treat the artists incredibly. Like, you know, we might rock up and have a rider that's, you know, everything that we've asked for. And then sometimes you might get like 1 drink ticket per band member. And sometimes they make you just pay full price, and
that grinds my gears.
That's
sorry, venues out there, but I'm like, we
for
bring,
sure,
there's a
like,
value in there,
if you're an artist that is bringing in punters to a venue, like I feel like there should be, a little bit of leeway there for the venue to help you out as well. Because we do pay for venue hire and things like that when it gets to a certain point, past free shows. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just hiring people that want to actually be there.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than getting to a venue and just, people just make you feel down.
And that's the thing, right? Is if the venue nails what they do, what I've always said to people is if you see me as the value I bring, I'll play 5, 6, 7 extra songs because I'm like, you've seen me, I see you. Now I'm going to give you my whole heart and soul.
Sure.
I'm going to make my bread here and make everyone get up and feel the vibe. Maybe not dancing because some of my songs are not dancing, but I'm going to do my best to make this venue flourish. But if you start bottom dollaring me, then I'll bottom dollar you, And
like the amount of times that me and like my touring crew still, remember venues. Like this was one of them for me. I played a gig here, would have been 24th of September last year.
24th.
Apparently, according to the signed record.
Nice.
But yeah, I played a gig here last year with Wild Turkey, and I actually didn't know that this venue was here before, but coming in, shout out Wild Turkey.
Yeah. There's the crew in the house.
But coming in and getting to meet Dan and the crew here, and I was treated incredibly. And ever since, we've bumped into each other at random events like Big Sound and things like that. But it's the venues that you remember that you come in and people are like so stoked that they've got music happening, and it makes you feel good. It makes you want to be here. And I still remember coming and playing this gig, and I don't think anyone knew who I was in the crowd, but we had a good time, and all the staff wanted to be here, and it was fun. And ever since that gig, they've put an incredible amount of money into this stage and what you guys are doing here as well, which is so great because I know that you guys want to support live music so much for what it is, which is incredible.
Shout out to Dan and the crew here.
But it's those venues that make a difference. It's those venues that make artists want to. It makes the small scale of touring really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because I've played in so many venues where I get there and it just smells like piss. And cleanliness is
which tavern was that?
The Cambridge Hotel in Newcastle. No, but yeah, a clean.
Sometimes it's hard to scrub off 4 generations of piss.
Right. Yeah. Especially in Newcastle. But yeah, no, you just go to a venue that just it just makes you feel warm and makes you want to be there. And that's
And if they nail that, that's
for sure.
It's what it's all about. It's letting people know. Like, look, eventually we'll get sound engineers up here to say why they're always angry. I don't know why, but that'll come, and all these engineers, it's because they overwork us. It's true. Our engineers are overworked and they get a lot of crap. Look, us musos are pretty difficult as well. Sometimes we can be prima donnas and why is my sound not coming through this fold back as loud? I think that you've got to be nice as a muso to some of these soundies as well. And I want to get into that now. So the venue's great. So now, we won't go into musicians yet. Let's go into punters. I know we have always different punters. You can't control people's audiences. You can't control what people are feeling. And I think as a musician, that's our role, is to impact people. If they're having a bad day, to make them feel good. If they're, I get that part. But let's talk about how can punters show up better to make that music scene. And you, again, back to you as a performer, how can they show up better? Is it like through silence? Is it through like applause? Is it, talk me through this? And it's just experience. It doesn't have to be
quite an open-ended question. I think with, the biggest thing that I'm seeing with punters right now is, the hardest thing is as an artist when you're touring and people are like, come to our town, and you do, and then no one buys tickets. And then like 2 days later, people are like, when are you coming here? And I was like, I was there 2 nights ago.
I had to get Beyonce tickets that night.
Right. But especially with...
I shouldn't say that online. Sorry.
Especially with my sort of generation and age group, I find my friends are like, oh, $25 to come see a show. It's like, I don't really have that money right now, but they'll happily go and, blow $300 on a night out at the pub. Like, it's just priorities, really.
Amazing.
But with the punters that are actually coming to the shows, I think most of the time they're great. People Australia has a big drinking music crowd, and people are loud. And sometimes, I've done so many tours as a solo artist, it's really hard to get people to listen. Sometimes you just want people to shut up.
Yeah.
And
the more they drink,
the louder they get. It's just the effect. And I've been a punter like that before, for sure. But yeah, I think, a majority of the time, like, the punters are pretty good. It's just we need more of them to make the shows happen, because the numbers are struggling across the board. If you really do want to support something and see something do well, we need people to buy tickets to the shows.
Let's give that another one out. Say that again for the people at the back. We need people. Say it again, man.
We need people to buy tickets to shows, really.
Yeah, 100% true. And if they don't, you put in danger the next generation of superstars. You cut that tether of the next generation, and then you go, well, where's all the musicians?
And the hardest thing is, man, we've got so many artists that will tour the country, and as I said, play for $25, and people don't want to buy a ticket, but they'll happily spend $500 watching an international artist from America come over that's charting that doesn't actually need your money.
Yeah,
but they're coming through. They really don't, man, and they don't I'm being very careful about how I say this. No. It's all well and good to go and see your favorite artist, but if there's people that you're enjoying coming up, they appreciate you being at their show more than the international artist is going to.
Look, we hear about this, and again, it's not to create controversy. It's just to call things out for what it is. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that we know when these big, huge international acts come through, they don't put on support acts that are local. They don't come out to the local industries, local venues. They don't bring any spotlight to the locals. They just literally are wasps. They're not even bees that leave behind pollen that we can all, love life of.
I support that for a mandate. I reckon any international artist that comes through this country should have an Australian artist on their bill. And I think that should be raw.
100%. 100%. They have to. And if a city starts having multiple headline acts like that, they should be offsetting that, for the local venues, Maybe one day we can get into that conversation with people who can make those decisions and who can make those pushes. But we know down the bottom here, that's where the struggle is. All these people throw all of that money into the big stadiums, but that doesn't transcend to these venues. It just doesn't. That's the truth of it. Mm-hmm. And eventually we'll have so much of these conversations, so much people can't ignore it, because it's like, well, everyone's saying it.
Yeah, and I mean, we're if it keeps going the way that it's going, we're just not going to be able to sustain the industry as it is. And in this state, it's impossible. Yeah. So it's like, but the artists that are still sticking around and doing this thing, they're here because they love it. As I said, across the board, we're not making a lot of money right now, but we're still here. We're still pushing on.
Yeah.
There's still that hope.
And it's because it's our calling. And
you can't take it out of, and you can't explain that to people that aren't musicians, that aren't in the industry. You can't take it out of a person. Mm. Like if I just stopped playing music tomorrow, I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah.
I really don't know. And I don't want to stop playing music because it's not necessarily my identity. I like to think that I can separate the two, but it's the thing that I love to do, and it's the only thing that I want to do with my life. And if that was stripped away from me, they make it really hard to keep me doing it. But if that's fully stripped away from me, I don't know what else I'm going to do.
Man, I'm like, this is my holy grail attempt at trying to not let that, because I'm that close. Mm-hmm. Because I have kids, they're growing up. I don't want to be that, dad's still dreaming about being a muso. That's not what I want. I'm like, if I don't figure out in my own being what we've got to do, I'll have to leave music. And for me, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if I should even. So I don't want to talk about it, but that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm so passionate about this, because it's like, man, I can't do this on my own. Let's just start having conversations and speaking with Dan, talking about this concept, and now it's here, live out there. We're in a live broadcast, live podcast in the music venue, talking two musos together. Man, it's just, it's the beginning. It's the beginning. And it's awesome that we get to do that right here. Mm-hmm. So punters, now let's go to musicians. I'm a firm believer that we have to, as all musicians, we have to stop thinking it's all about me. it's just not. We all live together. We all work together. I have to come into a venue after you've left that venue, and if you treat everyone like shit, they're just going to treat me like shit. And I'm like, well...
And then there's your venue problem. And it starts with me.
Yeah, it starts back to the musician.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Like, I know we can't go into a lot of the... Again, I've said controversy so many times because I don't want this to be controversial. I want this to be honest and true and raw. And that's what it's about. It's informative, man, and insightful. And as musicians, we always leave and we always talk in the quiet green room. But now we have an opportunity to talk in front of everyone and be like, look, come on, fellow musos, pull it together. Come on. I rely on you guys showing up. I rely on you guys not treating people like shit or not drinking top shelf bar because you got 2 drinks and you went straight for the top shelf and now that venue's got to cancel the whole ride. It's like, I rely on that. How can we show up better as musicians?
I think just supporting one another, man. Like I played Big Sound earlier this year, and for me, I really struggle with events like that. I struggle talking about myself to other people when people are like, "What do you do?" I just get, I don't know, I close in. I'm a very introverted person in that way, but seeing how many musicians were there supporting each other and at each other's shows, and just showing up is the biggest thing. And even on social media, like, seeing a community of musicians that are commenting on each other's posts and liking each other's posts and sharing it around, and because we've all got different audiences, although we might be in the same sort of scene and the same genre, we've all got people that are, following along on our journey that might not be on someone else's, and being able to, push that to new people through our own power and push things that we believe in as well. I think we've got such a powerful platform as musicians to be able to talk about the things that we truly do believe in. And unfortunately, at the moment, it's like you've got to be very careful about what you say because it does get taken in a political way. Yeah. And, I'd love for us as society to be able to get back to the part where musicians can actually write songs and talk about things that they believe in without them being twisted.
Yeah.
That would be really nice.
And you're 23... which to me, like, I'm 35, right? And when I think of someone young, like 18, 23, I've had a couple people under that 25 bracket, and look at that. You're still in tune, you still got your feet on the ground, and you're exactly what the next generation needs. Like you, we had Lily Grace here. We talked about some amazing stuff with Lily, and it's so great to see some of this next generation coming through, so grounded, so rooted, so intelligent, so wise. It's so awesome, man. I know our industry is in safe hands.
I appreciate it.
I absolutely know that, and I absolutely feel it with all my being, and it takes a lot to get up here and talk about these talks, and have these conversations. It takes so much, man. Mm-hmm. And, you've just nailed it. You've been on point. And now we've gotten out of that talk. I want to just loosen the load up and just relax a little bit and start getting into some fun stuff and start wrapping this conversation up in some fun ways and, go into that area. Talk me through it, man. We have a dead celebrities thing. So if you could sit down with any dead celebrity and have a dinner and have a conversation, who's that with and what would you talk about?
Dead celebrity? God, that's not the question I thought I was going to get asked on this podcast.
Yeah. That's all I got to do, keep you on your feet.
Man. No. I can maybe like Freddie Mercury. You just seem like a cool dude. Pretty flamboyant. I like that.
Freddie Mercury, what would you talk about?
How the hell he can sing that high. No, I don't know. There's so many artists that I look up to that, I listen to a lot of modern music, so a lot of my idols are still alive. But yeah, I don't know. I've always idolized what Queen did and how, how ahead of their time, actually not even ahead of their time because no one's done anything like it since, but just how brave they were to be able to just make out-of-pocket sounds and just not care about what other people thought. And, they're just trailblazers, man. And I think as artists, we need more trailblazers in a world of, people that are just trying to feed the machine and do the same thing and pump out the same 3-minute 30 songs. I think we need more people like that are trying to make a difference and that are trying to spread a message and that are, I guess, just trying to...
Fearless.
Yeah, exactly.
I watched the interview with Freddie Mercury. Sorry to cut you off there, man. And they asked him, I can't remember who was the interview, but they said to him, do you write for people? That was his question. And the thing that I was really inspired, he goes, no. He goes, I write for me and you show up to watch me. And he's like, because the moment that I start writing for the love of them, then you're my slave. And I was like, man, that's what's missing. People are writing for the next hit instead of the other way around where people are looking for the next star. It's the wrong way around. Like I feel like the saying, the cart's before the horse. Have you heard that saying before? Yeah, that's the industry right now. The cart's before the horse. That's why it's not going anywhere. It's just static.
And I think we are going to get back to a point as an industry, as society, where we do, I see a lot of long form content coming back into trend, and people are enjoying watching documentaries and informative things that are longer than 30 seconds on a small vertical screen. But yeah, I think we're going to get back to that point where we do appreciate music for what it is, and that's spreading a message and talking about the things that we are passionate about and the things that, we have a platform to talk about that it might be considered. I've got mates back home in Newcastle. This is a long way around this question.
No, it's okay. Go the scenic route. That's fine.
I've got the scenic route. I love that. I've got mates in the music industry that I can have really, really deep chats with, and it doesn't feel weird at all. I go back and have the same chats with my friends that aren't creatives, and there's that little bit of weird, awkward tension. I think within music, I want to get that to a point in society where we can just have those chats outside of music, because it's all well and good for an artist to be up there spreading a message on stage, but if we can translate that and have that between people, I think that's what we're lacking at the moment. Really, is human connection and honesty. Honestly, people are hiding from that. Yeah, big shout out. I don't know what we're scared of, to be honest.
Yeah. And what was that coming back around to?
I forget.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
So, I did
no,
too.
What was your question again, man?
It was honesty. It was honesty.
Yeah, we'll leave it at honesty.
That was the answer there. And, okay, so now I've lost my train of thought.
God, we're good.
Yeah, you got me good there. And what's your favourite instrument? Obviously, guitar.
Yeah, I really enjoy playing the piano as well.
Piano?
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to getting a mandolin.
Mandolin?
Yeah, I've played mandolin on a couple of tracks in the studio recently, and I don't know how to play the chords or anything, but just like melody-wise, it's just such a nice instrument. I've been listening to a lot of folk music recently, and as soon as I hear a mandolin, it's like, literal music to the ears.
And what's your setup? What's your guitar?
I'm running Maton. Shout out to Maton. They're a really good crew. But yeah, Australian made. I've got a Maton EBG 808 over there, which is a really nice guitar. It's one of my favorites. But I've always ran Maton acoustic since I was 12 years old, playing in pubs, and it's cool. Nice. They're really reliable, and I've put that thing through the ringer. Look at the back of it. It's just like, you can't see it from here, but it's all scratched up, and it's got dings from where I've dropped it out of the case, and it's still in one piece.
And you got your pedals?
I've got a couple of pedals down there. I don't really know what they do.
That's all right.
But
they do stuff.
I just press them to look the part. All the gear and absolutely no fucking idea.
Nice one. And when you're writing, what's your favourite place to write? Where do you find your inspiration?
Yeah, I'd love to say like when I'm on the road in my van, but there's just too much going on. So when I'm home, I'll just sit in my bedroom and just write songs. It's when I can finally just like settle back in and just, take in everything that's been happening over the past couple of months that I've been on the road. Because, when I'm playing shows every night, like unfortunately I don't pick up the guitar and write as much as I'd like to. But, I go through little blocks where I'll sit at home and I'll just write 10 songs in a week. I try at the moment, I'm trying to write a song a day, but, I'll go through stages, but I'm really trying to keep this ball rolling at the moment.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, now I'm back on the road. We'll see how well that goes.
And Dream collab.
Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Actually, I don't know if I really want to sing on the same track as that guy. He's just incredible. He just
just play the triangle.
Yeah,
right at the end.
If I can feature as a triangle player on a Chris Stapleton track, I will, happily quit music.
That triangle will be the best thing ever. You'd be like,
dude, there'll be so much fucking passion in that ding.
Yeah, is to tell your family, I play triangle for Chris Stapleton.
Yeah.
No, that's enough. Like you're in the presence of.
Man, even just writing a song with that guy, he's an incredible writer. You know, that's a dream one day.
Oh yeah, he just gets you right in the heart. You know, I love his. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And dream, or should I say, bucket list gig?
Bucket list gig.
If you haven't already played it.
For a show, I want to headline Red Rocks in Colorado.
Red Rocks. Man, that's my bucket list gig too. Red Rocks, Colorado Amphitheater. Yeah. Oh, man. Has anyone ever seen Red Rocks? If you haven't, you should check out the Red Rocks Amphitheater.
That is Colorado, yes. I'm correct there, yeah. Okay, cool.
That's the dream. Yeah. Headline it. Who's on the lineup?
Man, I'm going to bring some of my boys from Australia.
Yeah?
For sure.
You've got to do that. That's all it's about. You know,
sure.
Leave some pollinate, man. You got to pollinate.
Yeah, dude, I've got a pollen allergy actually, so, you know.
Yeah, oh, you do?
I actually do, yeah. I'm allergic to grass.
Awesome, man. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really loved that we got to just dive on those conversations. What's coming up for you? What's coming up in the next sort of 3 to 6 months or this year? Next year, I should say.
We've got a bunch of singles coming out. I've just released an EP when I was over in Nashville. It's 5 tracks that I've put out this year. I've got a single coming out in January.
Can you just say that again? How cool is that you can say that sentence? Say it again.
The
just
sentence.
Released an EP over Nashville. Like, that's just... People dream for that stuff, man. Like, that's like... You get to say that.
Yeah, thanks.
That's like... You got to pat yourself on the back, and you've got to take the wins when you make those wins. Like you said, those yeses when they impact you.
For sure.
You got to own that, man.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
It's hard work. It's you know, stuff like that makes it all worth it.
Yeah, for sure. And last but not least, any advice for any upcoming musicians coming through? Give us your best advice.
I mean, there's so many cliches things that I could say, but I think the biggest thing is what we've already touched on, and that's just like be honest and be true, because it does show. People can tell when you're bullshitting. Make music that you want to make, because you are your own biggest critic, and you can trust yourself. You know, it takes a long time to accept that, but you can trust yourself.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Austin Mackay. Austin, it's been an absolute pleasure, bro. Thanks for coming along. Give another big one. Make it nice and loud and proud. This is the music industry right here. Again, bro, thank you so much. We're going to change it over now. We're going to have 10 minutes, change him over to the main stage, and he's going to do a few songs, tell some of those stories, get yourself comfortable, go to the toilet if you need to do the toilet things. And in about 10 minutes' time, we'll sit back down and we'll put this front row seat with this amazing musician. He's going to sing some beautiful songs for you guys. So let's do that. Thanks a lot. Let's get back into it.